it is a question of recontextualizing India, building brand Bharat. It's a brilliant topic to put forth timely. Can we build a brand of Bharat as the knowledge hub of the world? We need to brand that continuous intergenerational passing of ideas in science. Can we in India not have a Bharat FDA? Brand Bharat should speak for excellence in science and, of course, now technology. Stand both for technical quality and for ethical quality. We need to brand India as a responsible capitalist country, build brand Bharat. Thank you very much for having me. I prefer to sit and talk because there are a few notes which I wish to refer to. Although majority of the bits that I would like to say will be extempore. But the topic given was to talk on or give ideas on building Bharat brand, building brand Bharat. So imagining India's decade. I'll probably start like a teacher, pardon me for it. What actually is the branding that all of us are talking about, and what is branding at all? Just for a minute, I'd like to go back to that and say we are recontextualizing characteristics, be it of a country, be it of a product, be it of anything. So you're trying to recontextualize characteristics, values, or different identifiers of someone or something. Here it is a question of recontextualizing India with its characteristics, with its values, with different identifiers which have been sometimes notoriously continuing for a long time and sometimes very positively recollecting about India. So, and what is it for that we need to rebrand or brand Bharat? It is for making something become more visible, more appreciated, to become more appealing. So if you're talking about building brand Bharat, we want to remove those notorious branding which has happened much to our dislike, and also to think about those which are things which we like to make it more appealing for people. So it is a very critical exercise. It is an exercise which I would think India will have to undertake now, deliberately, proactively, and with an intention of actually putting our strengths forward and speaking about our challenges in a lot more open way. So I think it's a brilliant topic to put forth timely, very valuable, and it is for all of us to talk about it. So I'm only probably initiating with some of my thoughts on a few things. So what does this also involve other than the recontextualizing and other things? This exercise actually pushes a certain introspection to mine, extract one's strengths for the branding campaign that you would want to have. And in this process, weaknesses come to light, not as pain points. We can still highlight a lot of weaknesses, but they're not going to be our pain points, but as opportunities for improvement, and which once achieved can further bolster the branding campaign. So I just want to put it in this frame, and within this framework is what I'm coming up with a few suggestions where we can contemplate on branding, and that branding is brand building for India. I have only 4 large headings on which I will confine myself. The first one, obviously, when you think of India, will be culture and culture related. And in that, It's not as if the branding which has been done all this while has been faint or it's been absent. But I'm recontextualizing, and therefore, on culture, I want to say visit our Taj Mahal or visit our temples, visit our beaches can be great branding. They've been there all the while. And we have been recognized for those brands which are identified or which are synonymous to India. But I also want to prop up a few thoughts on experiencing brand India, brand Bharat. How would I imagine that? How I would imagine that taking the example of the Bali Yatra, which starts off from Orissa. October, November every year, actually beginning Kartik Purnima, the Oriya mariners, the seafarers, in age-old days, set out on a voyage towards Bali, which is in Java, and also look at many other islands which are on the way, trading, taking a lot of your cultural signature products, and connecting with the people who have already reached there ages ago. Now, would it be a good idea to sense the brand India, brand Bharat, which succeeded in moving around the Southeast Asian islands and spreading the goodwill of India, the soft power of India, and even today, if Oriya people, mariners can recall it, can we have tourism which will begin building ships which are probably similar to the ones built then, attract those who are interested in that area, and take them across, saying, let's go on a voyage in a similar fashion as the Bali Yatra conducted itself and went to Bali, and similarly, so on. So you relive the experience, you take the message of India, you also understand how Bharat's ancient mariners literally conquered without aggression, without violence, without expansionist philosophies, many islands in the Southeast Asian region. If that is one example, another similarly placed is I would invite, say, Building Brand Bharat, invite Buddhists of the world to say, would you undertake a voyage similar to Sangamitra, Ashoka's daughter, who took a beautiful sacred Bodhi tree sapling and went to Sri Lanka? And then from there to Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand, not just Sangamitra, but many others afterwards. Would we want that experience to be recalled from the point of view of a Buddhist philosophy which was given birth in India and which moved further? And today you have flourishing Buddhist community living elsewhere. That's a big brand that you can do. Other than, of course, I'll come to the pain points, which are not going to be pain points, but which have to be challenges undertaken by us. I would think it's important, at least in top 100 tourist centers, without speaking about the challenge. First, I would think top 100 tourist centers, we should have a self-learning program which is digitally run for architecture of that area, of that particular iconic site, the value for tourism there, architecture, Sanskrit, Pali, or any other language which has been identified with that area. If you were to go to, let us say, the Brihadishwara temple in Tanjavur, it would be Tamil. And the script written on the stone edicts are all probably ancient Tamil, with a slightly different script, but also having Pali and Sanskrit in it. And Give prior learning material for those who would want to understand those signature Indian architectural marvels, the stone edicts, archaeological valuable remnants which are there, so that a multidisciplinary approach to tourism will showcase India's architectural capabilities, sculptures, and many others, Sanskrit, ancient Pali, Tamil, and many other language, and provide a certificate for those who are particularly interested in archaeology, particularly interested in ancient monuments, stone edicts, and so on. Give them a certificate and provide a digital learning after that. I've just taken 3 examples for the cultural part, but more importantly, the pain point, I will just highlight that our temples or our iconic tourist centers will have to be a lot more handled with a perspective that this is where India's image is being projected. We need better servicing, better catering, better tourist guides, better immersive experience which is required. And for that, today's technology being what it is possible to brand through technology a better experience, immersive experience. And I would think in culture, I've just taken a few examples to say, build brand Bharat through these. I'll quickly move on to talking about the achievements of India in digital public infrastructure, the potential that we have in artificial intelligence, in providing knowledge hub, India brand knowledge hub. India means knowledge hub. Can we build a brand of Bharat as the knowledge hub of the world using technology? Whilst, of course, it's important for us to recall the great scientists, the great eminent people who have contributed for science and knowledge per se. You have great documents, Surya Siddhanta, Brihat Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and so on. But are they just going to be referred to occasionally? Don't we want people to know what these are? These are brands for ancient India, which we refer to even today. The thought of zero, the number, Aryabhatta, Rishi Kanad, the atomic theory. And also, it's not as if it was just ancient India. It kept continuing over generations after generations. 12th century, you had Bhaskaracharya speaking on Earth's rotation. I was looking at the details. He had arrived at 365.2588 as the time that it takes for Earth to go around the sun. And today's scientific evidences show that the difference between today, what has been arrived, and what was arrived in the 12th century by Bhaskaracharya was just 3.5 minutes difference. And if that is the brand which from ancient India on science and the grasp that Indians have had in higher sciences is, we need to brand that continuous intergenerational passing of ideas in science. Today, we also have, in the last 1 century, you have people continuing with that tradition. C.V. Raman, I'm just counting the Nobel laureates. C.V. Raman, S. Chandrasekhar, J.C. Bose, S.N. Bose, Meghnad Saha, and also mathematician Ramanujan. So I'm giving you a mixed set of names, highlighting how India's strength in science has been, since ancient India, unbroken. Today you find ISRO doing spectacular things about space research, and frugally at that. You have technology companies now capturing the globe on how to use technology-driven services. Biosciences, India is leading in it. Pharma sector, in fact, that is one idea which I would put forward to take as an example. India is setting standards in pharmaceuticals. In fact, I would think the first thing that all of us will have to focus our attention on You don't need a US FDA standard. You may take it very well. Please do take it because that helps your exports. But can we in India not have a Bharat FDA, Food and Drugs Administration, which can give global standards of benchmarks? If you reach that benchmark, your pharmaceutical products are going to be good enough or even unsurpassable. So we need to focus on those sort of things. In fact, there for the science, I would like to say, I'll recall the words of Erwin Schrödinger. He says, most of my ideas, a top scientist of his caliber, says most of my ideas and theories were heavily influenced by Vedanta. People outside are willing to recognize that brand of India which dominated in science. We need to continue with it, and brand Bharat should speak for excellence in science and, of course, now technology. Moving to the third, and I'll try to wrap it up so that I don't exceed you the time given. The third is India's businesses and particularly the startups. Our gig economy startups, especially the quick commerce, for instance, are truly one of the kind of innovation that only India has. But that's not to say the brick and mortar retail is not doing fine. They are being challenged. I recognize that. They are being challenged by quick commerce, and we need to handhold and support our brick and mortar retail, no doubt. But use this to brand India as a destination of innovative solutions to modern urban needs. This will serve as an incentive or call to scale up internationally, catapulting Indian enterprise with a strong Bharatiya identity to become some of the biggest players in the international tech business space. That idea which I would put across here, just as I did for pharmaceuticals, if we can have a Bharat FDA, Food and Drug Administration. Let's recall post-World War, we've had Germany standing for quality, technologically superior quality products. You would immediately say, oh, it's come from Germany, it should be the best. You had such similar approach even for products coming from Japan. I would have that brand for Bharat, which would stand both for technical quality and for ethical quality. It's absolutely important. Ethical quality of every produce produced from India and for every service that India extends, both for goods and services, we should now stand for not just technical quality, product quality, but also for the ethics which has governed in producing it. Why do I say this? Millennia we've been producing products. There's never been this point of exploitation. And suddenly, for a traditional industry, like let's say carpet making, you had a diktat coming from the buyers in the West. Oh no, you're using children for making these carpets. We won't buy it from you. Silk from South India, from very close to Bangalore, where families are engaged in it without denying children the schooling. But unless that craft is learnt very young, he will never become a master weaver. We've not denied children education, but even if that has got to be proved, we shall prove it. But if you want to have products from India which are master class, you are not going to be told by others, you employ children, you have sweat labor. No, we need to stand up and say, we take care of our children, we take care of their education, we also equally skill them. For a moment, even if it's not music to the ears of many, I would still say, despite my not subscribing to communism as an ideology. What was USSR's singular achievement in terms of skilling people? You would have a gymnast of world class coming from there. You would have a musician who could play Tchaikovsky much better than many of the Europeans who learnt coming from there. You had education which led to science and discovery. You also had chess players topping the world from there. That's the only thing I would recall USSR about. But it showed that possibility that it is training from young that is going to give that specific skill and mastery on that skill by the time the person becomes even a teenager, late teenager. So that capture them, skill them from young for those complex skills which they need is also an important part of branding Bharat. So if you want to have very good quality products, yes, you need to have technical superiority, be it small chips, which are electronic chips, or be it your solar panels, or be it your carpet, or be it your silk. Our Indian silk wouldn't have lost its ground if only the British didn't impose the Manchester machine-made stuff on us. We would have still continued over the generations. But then, these are just some examples which I've said. Similarly, Indian polishing and gems trade is something which globally is recognized. But it was necessary to say, source your raw material from such sources which do not use slave labor, which don't come from monies coming from dirty money, so that blood diamonds were not going to come into India, which is a good step. But those kind of steps which we need to do for our own, for better ethical production, is something which I would value when you build brand Bharat. And the final step, building brand Bharat, is in terms of archives, is in terms of India's poor track record with record keeping. Is a largely new phenomenon. It wasn't there before. We were very good methodical in maintaining our records. Bharatiya record keeping or sense of history was strong, later infused with the British meticulousness of recording their work or observations of the subcontinent. Can we be revisiting this? Can we revitalize it? I know I will touch on only one sector on this and go to my last point. I think it's Prasar Bharati. I can see representatives of Prasar Bharati here once upon a time. They have started a new streaming service, I'm told. Given the extensive Indian film industry and their successes, the TV, the radio archives that they may have, can their streaming services be bolstered with well-curated podcasts from radio content, for instance, and film and TV collections which are collector's pride actually. I know All India Radio has some of the best classical musicians who've sung annually and the records are kept there. Paluskar. These are not people you can hear again, but the recordings are available. Can we therefore look at creating India's own movie? Movie, the app for cinephiles who don't want to watch mindless shows in Netflix, but instead of thinking like a cottage industry, for India only that is, the subtitling and other things can be world class to cater to an international audience, so that people who are curious about India get to seeing our wonderful artists perform, good movies being seen. So brand building therefore as Bharat, with a rich history of storytelling in various modern media and not just in ancient storytelling form. Even that can be done, but this. The last thought I leave before you all, very thinking, very Bharat-minded audience, can we reimagine economic systems? And when I say this, let me first put the three assumptions that I make for all the economic systems that prevail. Either expansionism is a feature in them, exploitation is a feature in them, or aggression is a feature in them. For all the three, you have an immense number of examples. Expansionism, imperial and mercantile period, which all of us know about. Exploitation, material and human resources being unthinkingly, limitlessly being exploited. Depleted coal, depleted crude, and now possibly depleting lithium ions. So, when you look at aggression, weaponize those which have become common public goods, whether it is vaccine, whether it is any money transferring messages which are internationally used, and my enemy, your enemy, let my neighbor become a beggar, but my policy will be so exploitative and aggressive. These are some of the features that I'm highlighting. Therefore, brand Indian economic growth model, something which all of us can discuss about and something which we can take in. Features which I look in that, like Honorable Prime Minister says, life, capital L, small I, capital F, capital E. Lifestyle for environment. Change your lifestyle so that you don't demand more electricity. The classic example that the Honorable Prime Minister gave. You go in a car which is AC'd to your gym and use electricity for your treadmill there and for many other things, and come back home in the car and then speak for we'll have to be environmentally friendly. Can we instead change our lifestyle? Be more nature friendly. Another, sustainability is inherent to India. So when you're talking of a economic growth model, sustainability being inherent to us, our coastal communities were absolutely nutritively rich because they relied on the fish that they caught. And there was a movement from the West. Please just eat those vegetables and fruits which are available within your 100 kilometers radius. That is economically sustainable. Don't ask for sitting here salmons from Scotland. Very well taken. But that was part of India. And most of us ate the food which was available within your immediate neighborhood. We didn't live though like that because of our poverty. We lived like that because that was our lifestyle. That's how we lived. We believed in it. One more feature, and this is repeated by many people. What is our Purushartha defined as? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Artha and Kama are between the two bookends of Dharma and Moksha. Why? Your Artha, your economic well-being and your businesses, as a family man, the kind of money you earn, the kind of money you spend, have all got to be guided by Dharma. Once you miss that out, it can be greed, it can be anything else. You won't care about your neighborhood. You won't care about the exploitative resources that you're using more than leaving the next generation in debt. So it has to be Artha within principles of Dharma. It has to be Moksha, and that is where Kama comes in. And Moksha is not some golden terrain or zone which is somewhere above you. It is realizing that you are the divine yourself. Realization. And if you have that realization, you don't need to have people tell you love is the best way, inclusivity is the best way. If you see the divine in every other person, in every other commodity, in every other object, you know where you stand. And therefore, eternal values of life, which is what is Dharma, which is according to Desha and Kala. It is not a fixated, one-time value system. And the self-realization at the end of it guides you artha and kama. So therefore, in contrast to the linear going upwards trajectory, my growth has to be 10x more, 5x more, 25x more. I have to produce more, get the resources from wherever. So we understood this as a cycle. We believed we move with ups and downs in life. That immediately means that you will reuse, recycle. So the cycle influences in everything that you do. Today we hear thoughts and concepts which are coming from abroad. Circular economy. Again, we didn't follow circular economy principles of reuse because we were in poverty. We thought it is our responsibility to use as per our need and not as per our greed. So, responsible capitalism is the point which I want to leave as my final word, so that we understand that capitalism also has its limitation, and we need to brand India as a responsible capitalist country which knows to keep its people, with many of its institutions doing their job. And that, I will not elaborate, I'm taking more of your time, is in the book's content. One of the main important point of why nations fail. Spoke about it. Institutions. Institutions and their strength. Unless your institutions are going to reflect these values, you're never going to succeed. So, Why Nations Fail is the book written by Darren Ajmolu and James A. Robinson, published in 2013. So, with that said, for us Indians, I conclude with the words of Tolstoy. I'm not using an Indian's own word for telling us what I have a thought, but I'm using the words of Leo Tolstoy. I'm taking mid-sentence and I quote, "For there, more than 200 million people, highly gifted, both physically and mentally, find themselves in the power of a small group of people, quite alien to them in thought and unmeasurably inferior to them in religious morality." Unquote. Again, one more line from Tolstoy, which will go together with the line just read. A commercial company enslaved a nation comprising 200 millions. What does it mean that 30,000 men, not athletes, but rather weak and ordinary people, have subdued 200 million vigorous, clever, capable, and freedom-loving people? Do not the figures make it clear that it is not the English? I repeat this sentence. Do not the figures make it clear that it is not the English who have enslaved the Indians? It's not the English who have enslaved the Indians, but the Indians who have enslaved themselves. Thank you.